We all know Bluey is a series loved by everyone for its incredible characters, creative humor, and meaningful life lessons.
The truth will set you free.
But did you have any idea that many shows have been inspired by or outright copied this beloved program? The biggest example of this is Chipchilla, which has earned a reputation as the American version of Bluey. And that's not an exaggeration. The show was created in 2023 for a kids streaming service called BentKey, which is home to a lot of cartoons that, how can I put this, take a little too much inspiration from already famous animated series. When Chipchilla was released, it stirred up quite a buzz due to its blatant similarities to the Blue Pup show. The series revolves around a little boy named Chip and his family of chinchillas, who teach him valuable life lessons. Just one look at an image of the animation and you'll probably immediately associate it with Bluey. From the uncanny resemblance between the protagonists, both are blue animals, to Chip's family structure being almost identical to the Healers, the similarities are impossible to ignore. Even the design of Chip's house is suspiciously similar to the Healers' home. How could they copy that much? The worst part? While Chipchilla isn't terrible, it just doesn't measure up to Bluey. We know Bluey has a lot in common with Peppa Pig, a connection the creator has openly acknowledged since they worked on Peppa Pig before creating their own project. Over time, however, Bluey evolved beyond its inspiration, offering richer storytelling and content enjoyable even for adults. Chipchilla, on the other hand, seems to take all the best parts of Bluey and make them worse. So yes, it really is the American and not as good version of Bluey. But as fascinating as this blatant case of plagiarism may be, it's not the only cartoon to borrow heavily, maybe too heavily, from Bluey. Want to find out which other shows have taken notes from the Healer's success? So jump into this wave, because Cinewave is starting. Another obvious case of a show borrowing heavily from Bluey is Pickwick Pack, released in 2020. Its storyline isn't as similar to Bluey, since Pickwick Pack focuses on a group of colorful animals delivering packages rather than a family's everyday life and learning experiences. However, there's an undeniable resemblance. We've seen lots of cartoons featuring animals acting like humans, but one character in particular, Axel, looks a lot like Bluey. Axel is a raccoon, but if you changed his tail to resemble a dog's, you'd think he was the youngest member of the Healer family. It's not just his blue fur, although that's already suspicious. Axel also has lighter fur on his belly and darker markings on his face that create a mask. This is typical of raccoons, but it mirrors Bluey's facial markings almost exactly. It's safe to say the creators of Pickwick Pack were at least partially inspired by the design of the world's most famous blue dog for Axel. One of the coolest aspects of Bluey is how all the characters are dogs who walk on two legs and behave like humans. It's similar to Peppa Pig, except Peppa features a variety of different animals. Puppy Dog Pals, a show that takes quite a bit of inspiration from Bluey, takes a slightly different approach. Its main characters are regular dogs, they walk on four legs and even have human owners. But, of course, we can understand what they're saying. Otherwise, it'd just be a bunch of barking. Even so, it's easy to see that the creators borrowed concepts that Bluey is known for, like the strong bond between the two protagonists, who happen to be twin brothers. Their dynamic is strikingly similar to Bluey and Bingo's relationship. Speaking of Bingo, here's another massive similarity. One of the brothers in Puppy Dog Pals is also named Bingo. Yes, it's the same name as the Healer family's youngest daughter. And here's the ironic part, Puppy Dog Pal's Bingo is much more mature than his sibling, while Bluey's Bingo is adorably naive and innocent, being much younger. I'm guessing they're big fans of Bluey. But how about you? Do you love the Healer family too? If so, drop a comment below with #Healers. Tots, Tiny One's transport service, is not only an entertaining animation, but also borrows quite a bit from Bluey. The series revolves around a penguin who works delivering baby animals to families looking to adopt a new child. A very different concept from Bluey, right? But that's exactly what makes these two shows so similar. Tots does something many kids shows shy away from, addressing sensitive topics in a way that young audiences can understand. As you might have guessed, Tots is about a character whose job is to deliver kids from orphanages to their new homes. In other words, the main theme of the entire series is adoption. Much like Bluey, this show can be enjoyed by both kids and their parents or other adults. After all, any parent knows how tough it is to travel with babies, and the main character deals with that kind of chaos in every episode. This shows how you can draw inspiration from one series to create a new story that's just as good, or maybe even better. If Tots hadn't ended in 2022, it might have evolved to surpass Bluey someday. Sadly, we'll never know if that could have happened. Now let's talk about a curious case of imitation, Chip and Potato, an animated series that came out shortly after Bluey in 2018. It's about a little bulldog named Chip who lives a normal life doing things like going to school, playing with friends, and learning valuable lessons from time to time. If that reminds you of the life of a certain blue dog, let me assure you, it's probably not a coincidence. Beyond a few differences, the show really does resemble Bluey in many ways. Chip's family is quite similar to the Heeler family, but instead of 2 kids, there are 3. Chip is the middle sibling and has a younger sister. That's a small difference from Bluey, right? Here's an interesting coincidence, or maybe not. Bluey technically could have been the middle child too. Her mom miscarried a baby before having her. If that tragedy hadn't occurred, Bluey would have been the middle child, just like Chip. Did the creators of Chip and Potato take note of this and make a subtle homage? Another fun difference is that Chip always carries around Potato, her doll, which is actually a real mouse. Thankfully, neither Bluey nor Bingo goes around playing with live rodents. At most, they play with birds and caterpillars. You might think Stillwater is a ripoff of Kung Fu Panda because, well, they both have pandas as their main characters. But we're here to talk about how this show resembles Bluey. For the record, we don't think Stillwater copies Kung Fu Panda because the serene Stillwater is nothing like the action-packed Po. The show's vibe feels much more like Bluey. It follows a wise panda who spends time with a group of kids, teaching them valuable lessons while also having fun. Like Bluey, we see the characters' day-to-day lives and personal conflicts. And of course, both kids and adults come away from Stillwater's episodes with life lessons they can carry forever. But it's worth mentioning that Stillwater is based on a book series released in 2005. This situation is similar to what happened with Olivia the Pig, a cartoon based on older books that likely inspired Peppa Pig. It was only because of Peppa Pig's success that the Olivia books were adapted into a show, making it seem like Olivia copied Peppa. Something similar probably happened here. Bluey became a hit, motivating a studio to adapt the Stillwater books into a show. The question remains, did the creator of Bluey take inspiration from the Stillwater books while developing the Heeler story? Who knows? What do you think about all this? We'll talk about more shows that probably copied or were inspired by Bluey, but before that, why not hit the subscribe button? That way, you'll never miss our daily videos about the best cartoons out there. Have you ever heard of Toyland Video? It was a Brazilian company infamous for making poorly crafted knockoffs of famous movies and shows, hoping people would accidentally buy their DVDs thinking they were the real deal. A lot of folks must have been pretty disappointed with that trick. Thankfully, the company kind of doesn't exist anymore, or rather, it rebranded itself in 2012, shifting its focus to educational content. Even so, they still produce series, now more centered on teaching children. One such show is Little Drop, launched in 2019. The story revolves around a raindrop living among the clouds. While the show teaches about how rain works, it also tackles significant themes often avoided by other shows, such as pollution and being an orphan, since poor Little Drop doesn't have a family, considering he's from space. Another show that borrowed inspiration from Bluey but managed to carve out its own charm is Eleanor Wonders Why. Bluey is a young, curious pup who's always learning more about the world, and the same can be said for Eleanor the bunny, who, as you might guess from the show's title, is even more curious. The show debuted in 2020, 2 years after Bluey, and similarly features its protagonist playing with friends and growing more mature with each episode. It leans especially into themes of exploring the world. I can confidently say that Eleanor Wonders Why is a great show. It transcends being just a copy and becomes a genuinely solid choice for anyone who's finished watching Bluey and wants something not only similar, but equally delightful. This video's wrapping up, but we've left 2 amazing options on your screen. Click one of them to keep the fun going. Thanks, and see you next time.